You're now tuning in to Fatima Bay, the MindShifter. Get ready to shift your thinking and turn it into success.
Hi, and thank you for listening to Fatima Bay, the MindShifter. And today's episode is titled, What is your way of thinking producing for you? Now, immediately, some of you may say, well, what do you mean, what is my way of thinking producing for me? I like the way I think. I've got opinions, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so don't we all. But that's not the question. We all have opinions. So what? Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. So what? My question is, what is your way of thinking producing for you? Because most of the time, we don't think about that. Some of you do, and if you already understand it, just listen to this message and be encouraged. But most of you haven't really given that very much thought. You mean my way of thinking makes products? It does. It makes successes and failures. Your way of thinking is why you are where you are right now. Your way of thinking is why your life is where it is right now, good or bad. Your way of thinking is why you're headed in the direction you are in your future right now. It's all in your way of thinking. Now, do you find yourself in a vicious cycle over and over again? Like, oh my God, why do I keep ending up in this situation? It just seems like every time I turn around, I'm ending up in this situation. I keep dating the same person over and over again in different bodies. I keep having this same issue with every job I go to. I keep having friends leave me. I keep having whatever your details are. You keep having the same vicious cycle over and over and over again. Well, there's a reason for that. First of all, if we are constantly in the same cycle over and over again, the only constant usually is us. Yep, the only constant is you. However, the why and the how you're the constant is what I want you to examine. Because if we are going through the same cycles over and over again, there are actions that we are doing or things that we are allowing that cause these things, this cycle to just keep going on and on and on and round and round. Now, those actions that you're doing or those things that you are allowing, because sometimes it's not our actions. Sometimes it's what we're allowing. Sometimes it's our inaction. Okay? What you are doing over and over again, or the thing that you're allowing over and over again, those come from your thoughts. You don't just do things with no brain in your head. You think first before you do. Well, most of us anyway. But you know what I mean. Whatever you're doing over and over again that's causing the vicious cycle, or whatever you're allowing over and over again that's causing the vicious cycle, it's because of your way of thinking. Now, yes, it is true. We can have stinking thinking. It's an old phrase that I like to use a lot. Stinking thinking is why your life sucks. Yep. Sometimes it's because of the way we're thinking. And most of the time, we're not aware of the way we're thinking, which is why I'm talking to you about it today. I want you to examine, I want you to question your way of thinking. And if you're not even willing to question your way of thinking, I can't help you and neither can anybody else. You should just probably move on. But for those of you that are willing to listen and willing to examine, I want you to really think about that. What is your way of thinking producing for you? Is it producing a field of glory? Or is it producing a field of crap, rotten fruit? What is your way producing for you? You see, When you see someone and you see them constantly having victories in their life, there's a way of thinking that is producing that. Someone who's constantly thinking in the negative will produce negativity. They'll produce bad things in their life, and they will eventually infect those around them. I didn't say effect, I said infect those around them. Now, someone who tends to think a little more positively will produce positivity in your life. It's just true. Now, after you examine your way of thinking, you might be thinking, well, okay, how do I know if my thinking is the problem? How do I know what part of my thinking is the problem? Well, good question. Where do you want to go? What is it that you want to change? Let's talk about that. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. For example, you want to be a millionaire. Hey, great. I want you to be a millionaire too. I wish there were a lot more millionaires. You're not going to become a millionaire by hanging around people with poverty thinking. You see, our culture and your home upbringing, all of those things affect your way of thinking. Now, you react to situations in your life which also affect your way of thinking. Those are the three major things that affect our way of thinking. The biggest ones, I would say, because there are others. But those are the biggest things that affect our way of thinking. Sometimes we've been taught the wrong thing. I don't care if you're from China, England, Germany, Guatemala, US, Ghana, wherever you're from, your culture has taught you some things that you probably need to unlearn. They're so embedded in you that you don't even realize how screwed up they are. And I don't care what country you're from. Every culture has good and bad. So there are things you may need to unlearn. And for some of you, you may have been raised in a not so great or productive environment. You may have been taught that working a job and paying your bills is all your goal should be in life, which is why you're unhappy. You may have to unlearn that stinking thinking so that you can move on to a glorious and happy, fulfilled life. Genuinely. I don't have enough time in the segment today to go over the details of that or how to do that. That's really a seminar. But your way of thinking, what is it producing for you? Your way of thinking has been influenced by your surroundings. Your way of thinking has been influenced in your household. Have you always been told what you can or can't be? And you just believed it, and it's affected your way of thinking. You'll never be as good as so-and-so. It's affected your way of thinking. You may need to unlearn that. Now, let's go back to being a millionaire again, because I want to give you some solutions. I want you to examine your way of thinking. Once you do that, I want you to have some solutions so that you can walk away from listening to this and actually make some changes. Now, if you want to be a millionaire, you need to think like one. Because if you still think like someone who's just surviving, you will never become a millionaire that way. Anyone listening to my voice right now can become a millionaire. But first, you must change your thinking. You must think like one to get there. Let's say you want to be a news broadcaster. You should start hanging out with people who are in that field. Listen to how they think. Listen to millionaires, to the books they've written, to interviews they've done. Watch YouTube. How do they think? Whatever your goal is, listen to those people. Hear how they think, not just the words that they say, but are they thinking optimistically? Those people tend to soar. is how you're thinking. What is it producing for you? I'm going to keep asking you that because I really want you to examine that. So one of the solutions, again, is to seek out those who are where you want to be and listen to them or hang out with them, take them out to lunch. Depends on the details of what you're looking for. You want to be successful in relationships. Stop listening to the single ones who aren't. The only thing they can tell you is what not to do. Listen to the mindset of those who are successful. Seek them out. How do they think? And then compare it against yours. That is how you find out what you need to change. So if you were raised with a suppressed mindset, a very small survival mindset, that is all you'll ever be until you change it. And sometimes you do need to hang around different people who are going to open up your mind and help you to examine your mindset and change your mindset. I promise you, there's a big difference between hanging around with a millionaire and someone with a poverty mindset. They think totally different. Listen to people's thoughts as they're talking. Pay attention. So, what is your thinking producing for you? I want to leave you with that. And I will also like to add, I can promise you this, and it's a promise, not a hope, but a promise. If you take this principle that I'm talking about today, and you truly, genuinely examine your way of thinking, and you make necessary changes, this may be the most life-changing message you'll ever hear. Examine your way of thinking, because your way of thinking is everything. It's not a small, minor thing. It's not something on the side. It is everything. It is your compass. It is your compass. So watch who you're hanging around, because as a human being, you're a sponge, and you're going to soak up some ways of thinking. So examine your surroundings, because you're soaking up ways of thinking right now. My hopes are that you take this message and truly apply it to your life this week. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please email me at radio@fatimabey.com. That's radio@fatimabey.com. And thank you for listening.
Tune in next week for another segment of Fatima Bey, the MindShifter. For more of her teachings, subscribe to her YouTube channel at Fatima Bey, the MindShifter.